This episode of the podcast is brought to you by Keller's Garden Center and Landscaping Services. Are you still cutting your own grass? Are you still trying to get your landscaping to look perfect on your own? That sounds sweaty. That sounds like a lot of work. That sounds like a job for Keller's Garden Center and Landscaping Services. Family owned and operated. Keller's Garden Center and Landscaping Services, located on Kern Street in Exeter near Blue Ribbon Dairy, has the quality and experience to get your yard looking its best. The Garden Center offers plants, trees, sod, mulch, rocks, flowers, topsoil, grass seed, straw bales, and much more, while the Lawn and Landscaping Services offers mowing, trimming, planting, and full landscaping. And also new at Keller's Garden Center is the Zen Chaser Bonsai Studio, offering bonsai trees, supplies, and classes. Visit them on their social media page for more info. Keller's Garden Center and Landscaping Services. Get your free estimate today. Ben Bailey, welcome to the Popko Project Podcast. How are you?
I'm pretty good, man. Thanks for having me.
Oh, dude, thank you for doing this. I really appreciate it. Ben, you are a comedian.
Scranton, so gotta let people know, and I think you're the man to do that, aren't you?
That's what they tell me. The liars tell me that.
There's work going on above me. If you hear like a vacuum and a machinery running, sorry about that.
Gotcha. But Ben, a comedian and well known for Cash Cab, and I say well known because there's probably people out there who say better known as the Cash Cab guy, but I say well known because you're a comedian first and really freaking funny.
Oh, thanks, man. Thanks a lot. I appreciate that. Yeah. I mean, it's kind of crazy. People don't realize, Cash Cab fans don't realize that I did Cash Cab for 15 years, but I've been doing stand-up for 30, which is crazy to me. Like, how did I get so old? I guess you just have to do nothing. That's what I need to do to grow old.
Yeah. So, I mean,
okay. Everybody knows me as the Cash Cab guy. Some people didn't know my name forever. I was just Cash Cab guy. And oh, your name's Ben Bailey? Oh, okay. Oh, you do stand-up comedy? I'm like, yes, since 1993. Like, it's my whole life. Cash Cab is just an offshoot of that, really, not the other way around.
Right. Now, how did Cash Cab come to be?
Well, Cash Cab was originally a show in England. The original Cash Cab was in London. Wasn't a hit. I was actually in England doing stand-up shows and saw the original Cash Cab in my hotel room like a year and a half before I ended up auditioning for and then obviously getting Cash Cab in New York. I just saw it on TV randomly. It was on this channel called ITV, and it wasn't a big hit. It went for one season, and that was it.
So
and then I came home, and I was actually like, I had a role on a soap that I had to cancel. I had to miss the last episode because I booked Cash Cab, and I can't remember exactly what was so important that I had to skip. But I played an evil prison guard on One Life to Live. And so his name's Haskell, and the only part he's not there for is there's like a big prison riot scene at the end. So it's just like a different guy playing the role.
That's funny.
And like 5 episodes and then that. So I had to miss that and start doing Cash Cab in New York. And so many weird little things. Like one day I was filming and I came up outside and there's a cab out in front of the place, and there's a guy mounting cameras in it. And I'm like, is this? Because I had already booked it, but we hadn't started yet. I'm like, is this the Cash Cab? And he's like, no, it was one of the guys that end up working on the show, putting cameras in a taxi for something they were doing with Tony Danza. I'm like, what? What's going on? All these weird little coincidences. But I started rambling. I don't even remember what you asked me, but.
No, we're talking about how Cash Cab came to be.
Oh, right. Yeah. Well, that's how it was. It was different in England, though. It was the cab asked the questions. It had like this computerized Knight Rider kind of voice. And the driver just drove around and sort of made a little joke once in a while, but didn't really host the show. Then they
Yeah,
brought
that's
it to
not
New York.
nearly as funny or engaging, I would imagine.
It was not. It was not. It was basically a trivia show. I mean, the guy was very affable and did a good job. I remember his name for some reason, John Moody.
Okay.
But when they brought it to New York, they were like, "We'll find a cab driver in New York that has a great personality." And after 3 weeks, they were like, "All right, that's not going to work.
There are none. Yeah.
We're going to have to find a comedian. Let's find a comedian." And so they went to the clubs, the comedy clubs in New York, LA, San Francisco, Chicago. And I had a little bit of a leg up because I had been a limo driver and everybody knew that I could, walk and chew gum, so to speak. I could drive and
Right.
I used to take people into the city and drop them at like dinners and then go and do my shows and then go back and pick them up after, take them home.
Double dipping. Nice.
On 2 different occasions, my passengers in the limo decided to come to my shows with me instead.
That's awesome.
They're like, "That's so cool. We're not going to go to this boring dinner thing. We're going to come with you."
Yeah. That's
One of the
awesome.
couples was like in their 70s and they were like hitting it pretty hard. They were partying. And I was like, "Wow, these people are amazing."
Now, did you have to become a licensed cab driver?
I did, yeah. I had to get a hack license of all the things to make a comedian do.
Right.
I get a hack license and I had to do continuing education to keep it for like the first 5-6 years that we did the show. And then the TLC, the Taxi and Limousine Commissions, started giving me a break. They're like, "Why don't you come and speak at our gala? And then maybe somehow we'll figure out a way that you don't have to keep, because I had to go to classes all the time. It's getting weird because people are like, "Oh my God, you have to do this too?"
So they make you do continuing education, but they'll let a 80-year-old lady or man drive a car.
Yeah,
No.
well, that seems to be a topic of late. Something must have happened that I didn't hear about. Everybody seems to be talking about old people getting retested.
Oh, I mean, I've been saying that for 10 years. I always make a joke that I would bet money that I could drive, like put it on a closed course, right? But me with drunk goggles on versus an old person and see who does better.
Yeah, it'd be
I want to see
interesting.
if I could beat that.
Drunk goggles, that's a thing.
I think so. I think so. I mean, it should be.
I'm gonna get a pair of those.
Yeah.
You get drunk without the drinking part.
Yeah.
You won't be so bloated.
Right. But we're talking about comedy, and you have a show coming up in the area in which I reside, Scranton, Pennsylvania, on this Saturday, May 25th, at the Ritz Theater in downtown Scranton. So that's a pretty cool thing for our area to have a guy like you passing through.
Oh, thanks, man. I'm looking forward to it. I don't live that far, so I'm just gonna head out to Scranton. I've been to Scranton before, of course, and whenever we're coming, and whenever we're coming through Scranton, I have to put on the song "30,000 Pounds of Bananas." Are you familiar with that song at all?
I'm not. I don't think. I'm notorious for like knowing a song but not knowing the title.
Oh well, I think you'd have a hard time not knowing this title, "30,000 Pounds of Bananas." It's a song about a trucker driving down the big hill on the highway there into Scranton. And I think it's a true story. He crashed with a whole truckload of bananas, and there was just bananas everywhere for months, laying in the road and all that. It's a really long, kind of silly song that I always put on if I'm coming through there.
I'll put that on when we're done here.
Okay.
That sounds bananas.
What's his name? Jim Croce. I think it's a Jim Croce song.
Why were you in Scranton before?
What's that?
Why were you in Scranton before? Same thing?
I went there when I was like 20 to party with somebody who's going to school there. And I've just performed and driven through like every part of this entire area over the last 30 years, I think I performed in Scranton, but a long time ago now. And I couldn't tell you where. Some venue that was a bar with a comedy room in the back or something. Long time ago.
I'm not sure. So much changes every 4 or 5 years, it seems.
Yeah, it's been a long time since I've been there. I mean, I've been through, but it's been a long time since I actually came to Scranton. I'm looking forward to it, man.
Yeah, the Ritz is a great place. Just kind of, it's been open, I think, for a while, but like it's under new management, I guess you could say, and they're really, adding a good lineup of shows this year.
Awesome. So
and you're
cool. Yeah.
part of that. So, yeah, Saturday, May
I put
25th.
all these theaters in kind of semi-smaller towns, instead of the bigger cities, I'm doing towns like Scranton that all have these pretty great theaters that seem to be, or a lot of them do. A lot of them, they're just like bringing them around. They've redone them and they're reopening. It's pretty fun, man. I'm really loving it. They tend to be like right around the right size for me. So
Yeah. It's
So here I
that's a cool, that size venue is cool, I think, for a lot of things. It could be comedy, it could be, musicians and things like that. But,
yeah.
do you think, I mean, I would imagine this to be true, but do you think that Cash Cab helped your comedy, whether,
Oh God, yeah.
yeah,
I mean, I had already succeeded on some levels. Like I had done a Comedy Central Presents a half hour. I had done stand up on TV maybe 5 times and acted in a bunch of stuff. So I was and I was like in the clubs in New York still every night, and things were going really well. So it kind of interrupted my path as a comedian and just sort of steered it to the side a bit. Still going in the right direction, but so I got it was like a jump ahead, but off to the side. Like I started selling a lot more tickets, but people had expectation. They were like, a lot of people thought I was going to do like a Cash Cab live show. I'm like, how would I even do that?
yeah,
And why would I want to do that? Like, I don't understand that, but
yeah,
so I had to roll with that for a bit. They had expectation. Before that, people came to my stand-up not knowing who I was really and just kind of open to what it might be. After that, people are like, how come he's not doing what he does on TV? So it was a little bit of adversity to overcome there, but kind of a strange little period to manage.
right.
It's like, who do I talk to about how to handle this? There's not a long list of people that are going to know, So,
Yeah. Well, was any part of you mad that like, oh, it took this like TV show to get me more well known for my comedy?
No, it didn't make me mad in that capacity, but it was frustrating in a way that, it was like this stand-up has been my whole career. Like I was 12 years into it, or about 12 years into it at that point, and already having some success. And then now everybody, it's a weird little spot to be in. Like all these people are coming to see me, but not because of that, not because of this thing that I've worked so hard on for more than a decade.
Right.
Because of this other, totally random thing that I can't do live and wouldn't want to do live, and so it was weird.
Yeah.
It was tricky, So
Now do you
it's
look back?
kind of better actually, again, because people are just, expecting stand-up. It's nice for me to just be a comedian for a while.
Right.
Comedians, we tend to go like, okay, I'm a comedian. What else can I do? I'm going to act. I'm going to write a movie. I'm going to, all these different things. And it's like, well, you already have a job that you fought for. Like maybe just do that for a while. I had a hard time seeing that. I had wanted to do more, and now I'm just a comedian, and it feels pretty good.
That's good.
Yeah.
It's good to be able to focus on one thing.
Yeah, it's nice. It's nice to just delve further into it. I have a new special that I've just finished editing. Actually.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. It's called.
When's that due out?
Pretty soon, probably in, I'd say maybe 2 months from now, with all the final bits of post, and then the planning and marketing and launch and all that. It'd probably just be on my YouTube channel.
Very cool.
That's kind of how you pitch things now, right? If I put it on my YouTube channel and it does well, then somebody will be like, "Hey, we want that."
Yeah. Maybe Netflix picks it up and all that kind of stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, I had a previous special that was on Comedy Central and then Netflix, which I have now too. So
very cool.
Yeah. Sorry, I'm just rambling on.
No, well, the reason I asked that question was like, I mean, a similar kind of situation, like Joe Rogan wasn't really Joe Rogan that he is today until he did Fear Factor, right?
Mm.
And became a bigger name. And he talks like shit on Fear Factor, but like he just did that because it was a good paycheck.
Exactly. Yeah.
And
it's not true for me with Cash Cab, but
no?
there are similarities.
That's because you gave all the money away.
Yeah. Right. No. No, I was by far the biggest winner ever in the cash game.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, it's weird. It's funny. I was saying you don't know who to talk to about that stuff, but like Rogan would be a guy like, hey man, how do you deal with that? With people knowing you for one thing and, coming out to see you do another, and maybe they're a little disappointed. However good your stand-up might have been, they thought you're going to be asking trivia questions and giving away cash,
Yeah.
Rogan would have been a good guy to talk to. I actually saw Chris Rock at the Cellar one night when that was going on. And I was like, hey, man, can I ask you some advice? And he's like, sure. And we went over and sat in a booth. And then I just was like, oh, my God, I'm sitting here just talking to Chris Rock, just the two of us. And I got nervous and I gave him my phone number and left. Like, dude, he's not calling you.
No.
You were supposed to ask him right then when you had his ear what happened.
Right.
I got nervous. I panicked. Oh my God, it's Chris Rock.
Yeah, I get it, man. I'm glad we have this
what he
computer
would've
screen
said.
between us.
What? You flatter me, sir. I wonder what he would have said.
Yeah. Who else have you run into like that?
Who else? Oh
Yeah.
God, everybody.
Everybody.
All the names you can think of are in that club and those clubs all the time. You can't.
Yeah.
I haven't been there in a long time, but you can't go in there and not see somebody.
Yeah.
That's part of why I haven't gone, because it's like I don't know where I stand in that crew, and I hate the ambiguity of not knowing. Like, I should just put in for spots and just do it, because like the pop-in scene is like okay, we're gonna put you on, and then somebody else comes in and like, now you're bumped. I'm like, oh great.
Yeah. Wait.
So wait, should I still bump? It's like I don't like that.
Yeah.
I just want to show up for work and do the job, and
Yeah, it's a weird thing, right?
it's a little weird. Yeah, it's like unspoken. No, nobody really. That'd be a good show. It's good chat. Who bumps who?
Right. There you
In
go.
the
That's your
comedy
next project.
Who bumps who?
Yeah. How did you get into comedy? I mean, I love comedy. I just actually talked to a comedian last week, Tyler Rothrock, a super funny young guy from Nazareth, PA. And I'm a huge musician, like music fan too. So I love going to shows, but I would pick comedy over seeing a live show probably 9 times out of 10, just because you see a good comedian, you could laugh for an hour straight,
Mm.
and that's fun. That's like really
Cathartic.
yeah, it's awesome. So I mean, how did you get into comedy and why?
I stumbled into stand-up. I was a total train wreck of a human being when I was 20, and
That's cool.
Yeah, not really.
Well, look at you now. I mean, think about that. Where would you be now?
No, I know, but that's where I was, and things were not cool. They were not good. I was a mess, and I didn't know what I was going to do. And one night I was like, I'm going to go to LA. I'm going to move to LA, and I'm going to get into film, because movies are what I always loved the most. And so I did. I got on a plane in the middle of the night, half drunk, and flew to LA with nothing. Found a friend that I grew up with, the only person I knew out there. Ended up going to some crazy, amazing party down in Laguna Beach with this guy, and connected with a whole group of dudes from the East Coast that were out there, and I ended up moving up to LA and couldn't get a job anywhere. I was running out of the money I had saved, and I sold a bunch of stuff before I went. I was like, all right, I'm doing this. I came back home after the initial flight with nothing, maybe a month later, and I was like, okay, I'm going to move out there. So did all that, got back out there, couldn't get a job anywhere. I ended up coming out of a hotel next to the Comedy Store, which I had never heard of at that point. The hotel used to be called the Riot Hyatt. It was like this legendary place where all these rock bands trashed the place and drove a car into the pool.
Nice.
Although that's impossible because the pool's on the roof. But somehow those stories go together.
Who cares?
Yeah, but so like Zeppelin used to hang there and stuff and party there. It was a pretty cool hotel. It used to be, in an old school way, with balconies that had to overlook the city. But so I didn't get the job there, which was crazy because it was not a super high-end place, and I had really good hotel experience here in Jersey, but nobody in LA really cared about that. But so I was kind of like, I don't know what I'm going to do. I can't get a job. even in the industry that I'm already in, let alone show business. And there's some guy standing in the parking lot of this weird black building with white writing all over it. I'm like, what is that? And I kind of was looking at it. I started talking to these guys. Turned out to be the store. And started recognizing names, Richard Pryor, Robin Williams, Like, oh, this is that comedy club. Huh. Started chatting with the guy. He offered me a job. He said, you have a good voice. You want to answer the phones here? We need somebody to answer the phones. And I said, all right. Took the job, sat in a little green room office answering phones, and was telling this crazy story of how I flew out there on a whim, and there's a whole lot that goes with that. And these guys thought I was a comedian, and a guy offered me a spot. He said, how long have you been doing stand-up? I said, I just started. And yeah, that guy, his name was Skip E. Lowe. And he was a funny little character of a man who hosted a public access chat show from a bus bench that had an ad for the show on the bus bench. So you're like sitting on a bench and his face is big on the bench behind you.
Yeah.
And he would interview you and be really rude and frank and say offensive, both straightforward and thinly veiled offensive things to you. And turns out he was the inspiration for Jiminy Glick, Martin Short character Jiminy Glick, which when I heard that later, I was like, oh my God, of course. Which if you haven't seen those, you should watch those. Those are hilarious. Those are some of the funniest things ever done, I think.
I'll check that out.
It's so funny. It's Martin Short, doing interviews as Jiminy Glick, and he's just, he's a horrible person. He's just the most offensive things to his guests, and he is hilarious. And he was based on Skip E. Lowe, which is crazy to me. Because, Martin Short I was a fan of growing up. And then this Skip E. Lowe was just this random weird dude that I knew in LA for a while. And then I was like, oh my God, he is, like, it's so him. It's amazing. But yeah, so that's how I started doing it. I did Skippy's show in the belly room at the store on a Saturday. And I got a laugh with the first thing I said.
What was that?
I said I was really nervous coming up here, and then I remembered from the Brady Bunch to just picture all of you in your underwear, which is an old school TV reference that everybody got at the time. It was 1993. And I pointed to the large man and said, you look great in those panties, by the way. And it got a laugh, and it just did again. And so I got a laugh, and I was like, I swear to God, right then, that's it. This is going to be my life. Right in that moment, this is it, man. Forget everything I came out here for. I literally abandoned this whole, plan to get into film.
Right.
Because I was like, this is who and what I am. Is this right here? I mean, I've been a smart ass my whole life, getting kicked out of class, and all I ever cared about was making the other kids laugh.
That's good.
But it was nobody thought it was good then. Everybody's like, you got to get that out of your system. That
no,
like you'd be a professional clown one day. Nobody tells you that.
That would have been bad.
Oh, that's what I am.
No.
Yes.
I mean, your comedy, like, was it easy? It's like very relatable stuff. It's everyday, things. It's some of the stuff is self-deprecating, like the everyday stuff. Though, was it easy for you to kind of like see things that people like me I wouldn't see? Or was that easier for you to do?
It was. I don't want to say it was easy. It's more like it's just the way I think. But people always told me I had a weird, different perspective on stuff. Like,
yeah.
My friends used to say, oh, that's a total Ben philosophy kind of thing,
Yeah.
Again, it was not something that was heavily rewarded coming through the school systems. It was more like you can't think that way. What are you doing?
Yeah.
So I just always, I don't know. I'm a strange person.
No, but I mean,
on things, I guess.
I'm not gonna like ruin your bit because it's available online. It's on your Instagram page. But the one bit about how you could stop somebody with the simple like bup, 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 and that's like it's universal. Everyone knows that, and like we all do it. And you saw that and ran with it. And it's just like it's hilarious.
I just started doing it. I did it it happened at a diner with the coffee. It wasn't a diner. It was a very high-end hotel lobby restaurant. And the guy, it was such a high-end place that the guy just kept, I would take a sip of my coffee and the guy would pour more coffee. And I'm like, dude, what are you doing? You're going to kill me.
Yeah.
First of all, I got to get the mix right. The mix isn't right if you just keep adding more coffee to the. Right. Second of all, I'm going to have no idea how much coffee I've drank. I'm going to be flying around the room before I leave here. So I was like, I stopped him once, and then I felt like that was really rude of me to go. So it got me thinking about it. And I'm like, oh my God, that's a powerful thing.
Yeah.
So I started testing it on my friends and stuff. Could I stop them from doing things by ah-ing them or up-upping them? And the answer was yes. Every single time I tried it.
It's so good though. Like I said, it's just something, people like you, like they see that or they hear that or they witness it. They just like, and they're able to turn that into a joke because everyone has heard, they've seen it, they've heard it, like, and now
we've all been on both sides of that one.
Yeah.
Just
I was just curious. I was curious as if like is that just who you are, or is is that like a thing you try to do?
Well, at this point, it's both.
Right.
Like it was always who I was, and like I said, people just kind of thought I was just being weird or dumb when I was a kid with that. Or some people, always a dreamer. But now, of course, after 30 years of stand-up and writing that kind of stuff, now I've like trained my brain to do that even more than it naturally does. So, but it's still who I am. I'm just more and more that because I've been lucky enough to make this, my life and what I do. So that's just kind of where my head is all the time anyway, and even more now than it would have been.
I wish I was that quick and witty and all that kind of stuff.
No, you just got to focus on it. You can think about other stuff.
No, I can't. It's not in me. You had this bit for Ben Gay, the ointment.
Yeah.
And I wanted to ask you, like, I don't know if this is like an age thing, and maybe it's even inappropriate at this point in our lives, or this is, living in 2024. But there was a joke growing up that you'd say to your friend, like, okay, Ben, after everything I say, you're gonna say all my life. And I would say, like, I've had a cat all my life.
Yeah, of course.
Blah blah blah, and then Ben Gay all my life.
Right.
You ever hear that before?
I have, but I have forgotten. But yeah, I remember that. But dude, that was my life, was people making that joke because my name was Ben.
Yeah.
And Ben Gay was like a relatively new thing at that point when I was a kid. And that's how I wrote the bit. Some people get upset about that bit. But then other people defended it. Like, stop making it about you. This is obviously about some real pain that he went through as a kid. And that's absolutely true. Like the other, Ben Gay, everybody calling me that was hard.
Yeah.
Really, really tough. So, I wasn't trying to attack anyone, just expressing, and to find humor in something like that is pretty great. So,
yeah. My last name is Popko. So I heard Popko's the Weasel nonstop.
Oh, of course. Yeah. Popko's the Weasel. That's okay. Thank you.
I had a couple questions about cash cab, and I'll let you go.
Bye. Thanks a lot. Okay, let's maybe you can cut that out where she walks in if you want.
Where are we at here? We're at 28 minutes. Okay. I can do that.
Sorry about that.
No problem. Some questions about cash cab. Why do I keep calling it cab? Jesus.
Cab.
Cash cab. Was there ever a time someone got in the cab, not knowing what it was, and then lights go on,
Yeah.
sounders
Oh
are
my
sounding,
God.
and they're like,
Yeah.
whoa, whoa, I don't want any part of this.
Oh, and then they didn't want to play.
Yeah.
Uh, a handful of times.
Yeah.
Some of them, one in particular, like way later when the show was known, and we were like, "Really? Are you sure? Like, you should call some people and tell them that you're about to turn down the cash cab because you don't know what it is." And they're like, "No, no, they didn't believe us. They thought we were like overhyping to try to get them." I'm like, "No, your friends are going to punch you in the face when you tell them
Yeah.
that you were in the cash cab and decided you didn't want to play because you hadn't heard of it."
Right.
So, but yeah, very few people ever did.
What's the wildest maybe contestant or scenario that you witnessed in your time doing that?
Oh, there's a lot, but a couple that come to mind. One of them, a giant guy. Like I'm 6'6". This guy had to be 6'8" or 6'9", 350 pounds easily, dressed in a purple rabbit suit, head to toe. Like I don't even know where you get a rabbit suit so big. He must have had it custom made.
Yeah.
And he's standing on the corner smoking a cigarette in a rabbit suit. And I'm like, we have to pick this guy up. So I pulled over and he got in. I guess he was going to some party or something. I don't know. But going to someplace in public in that outfit is one thing, but being on national television is another, I guess, because he didn't want to play. And he was rude. He kept calling me baby. And so I started calling him Rabbit. I'm like, look, Rabbit, nobody calls me baby here. It's this weird argument. And then he got out and I pulled over and he got out.
That's funny.
It's pretty hilarious. We were laughing forever after that. And another guy like buckled himself in. He climbed all the way into the back seat and put all the seatbelts on and refused to get out.
Okay.
And so I just got out. I was like, okay, yeah. He just like put it in park and left. And he was like, what?
Wow.
Security guys came in and dragged him out.
Yeah. Now, did
Stuff
you ever
like
say
that,
like,
mostly
did you
pretty
see people as you were driving and say, hey, we got to pick that person up? Was that like,
sometimes, yeah. I mean, most of the time in the beginning, it was just whoever hailed. But if I saw that, like, I was like, we got to get this guy.
Yeah.
Look at him.
that's awesome.
Yeah, it was
That's
fun.
awesome.
Crazy, fun time, man. 15 years on and off, we did it.
Yeah. Did you ever think that would like go that long?
There was a moment early on where after like 3 weeks of trying to kind of find the show and figure it out, we had this amazing game. These two women went across the village from the West Village to the East Village. They missed the first two and they were hanging on by a thread the whole rest of the game, but they made it. And then they went for the video bonus, and we were like, "Oh my God, there's no way you should do that. You barely made it." And they got it, and it was like the celebration and the excitement that built in that game and the feeling of that game. We were all standing outside after looking at each other like, okay, if we can do that consistently, we might actually have something really cool here. And so that's what we went for, was to match that pace of that game and the feeling of that game. And, you're not going to get a game like that that's a cliffhanger every time. But if you can get that energy and that fun and that feeling that we had during that game, then, that's what we did.
That's cool.
It was
my
great.
father.
Fun.
Yeah. My father-in-law was a huge fan of yours in the show. I told him I was talking to you, and he's like, "Really? Where can I find it? Where can I find it?" I'm like, "I'll send you the video when we're done." But he wanted to know, what was the most amount of money someone won?
$6,400, I think.
Was that just one person, or was it a group?
Yeah, it was one guy at 6,400 for a long time.
Wow.
62 or 64, but then I think some astrophysicists and rocket scientists might have beaten him in one of the late years when we were on Bravo, but I'm not sure.
That's a lot,
He
though.
was a double ride, the guy. So we did those for a couple of years, so everything was doubled, and he just got everything all the way through, including the red light challenge and the video bonus. And I said to him, without really looking at him, I said, congratulations, you're the biggest winner we've ever had. And I turned around and he was a very big, heavy guy. And the
Of
producer's
course.
like, okay, maybe rephrase that.
Of course.
I said, what are you going to do with the money? And he said, I owe it to the government. Okay, that's a
Yeah.
win. That's still a win. As
Cool.
long as you use it to pay the government.
Yeah. That sucks though. It can go towards something fun,
Yeah.
man. And final question. Any advice you'd give to, aspiring comedians? Obviously you've been doing it for 30 years. Maybe not the normal. I guess there probably isn't a normal path to being a comedian, but
Mine, you mean, is not the normal one?
I don't think any of them are, right? Like,
Yeah,
are there any normal,
it's different. Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So any advice you can give to someone who might be looking to get into it?
Yeah. Some good advice that I got early on, and I honestly can't remember who said it to me, but there's really no road to follow except your own progress as a performer. So focus on that instead of trying to figure out where you stand in a business that's, relatively arbitrarily, laid out. Like, it's that gray area that we were talking about with the bumping and all. Like, you don't know where you stand. You don't know how successful you are. Everybody feels like a failure. The only thing that you can really consistently follow along as some sort of a path is your own growth and progress as a performer. So keep your eyes and your focus on that, and don't worry about what other people are doing, and you'll be able to get through it without losing sanity, because it's not easy to navigate.
I can't imagine.
Also, it's a marathon. It's not a sprint.
Well, yeah, I think everyone shits on it too throughout your life. Like, oh, you're gonna be a comedian? Yeah, right. Good luck.
Yeah, or like, like for me before that, like when I started doing comedy, there was like 100 comedians and ever anywhere. Now there's 50,000 or something like that. So the number of people that were like, I'm going to be a comedian, like, was way smaller.
Yeah.
And it wasn't something that you would even like. Now you can take stand up in college. You could take a class, and stand up comedy is like, what? No, that's not how you become a comedian. You have to have like an emotionally bankrupt childhood.
Right.
and you have to really struggle. That's how it used to be, I guess. But so, yeah, I don't know, man.
I found that to be true. People who struggle, like growing up, or maybe it's a broken home, or just whatever it might be, those are the people who really are able to find success. And I don't know if it's because they just feel like they have to, or they just have more of these,
well, yeah,
screwed up scenarios that they are able to.
I mean, if you want to break it down, it's kind of like everybody has trauma. Everybody has struggle in their life when they're a kid, right? And people have different ways of coping.
Yeah.
People like me, my coping mechanism that was most easily developed was, humor. So that's what I developed as a kid. I was comic relief when things sucked in my house, my family. And so that's kind of what made me a comedian.
Yeah.
But I'm predisposed to be that because that's what comes naturally to me.
Mm-hmm.
Other people have other coping mechanisms, and they excel at those, which is really interesting, right?
Yeah, it really is.
That you can develop strengths from that kind of situation.
Yeah, there's times where I joked that I wish maybe my parents like beat me or something because I had a pretty good life. It was
I did too, man. I'm not crying that I had some horrible childhood, but
right.
But they're all difficult.
Yeah.
Even the best of them are difficult, and there's adversity to overcome. I actually had a bit early on that I probably wouldn't succeed as a comedian because I didn't have enough adversity to overcome.
Right.
My family's very supportive. Nobody's telling me you can't do that, you fool. Once I started, then I had my family's support.
That's
Well,
awesome.
once they came to see me,
Right.
they were like, "Oh, okay,
He is funny.
yeah." They're like,
Yeah.
"Okay, actually, yeah, all right, cool, found this thing,"
Yeah.
So
Well, Ben, I know you said that you have a new special coming out a couple
yes,
months from now.
please tell me what I said, and it'll be on my YouTube channel. And there's going to be an onslaught of marketing little tidbits to let everybody know.
Looking forward to it. And then obviously the show this Saturday at the Ritz Theater in downtown Scranton,
Yeah,
May
I'm bringing my
25th.
bananas.
What's that?
Bringing my bananas.
I wish I could come.
Oh, you're not going to come to the show?
You believe this, right? So I MC weddings as well.
Oh, right. Okay.
And I committed to that. So some of them are different. Sometimes I'm there for an hour or two. Sometimes it's all night thing. So maybe if I get done early, I could sneak over there. But yeah, I was doing the scheduling. I'm like, I can't even go to the show.
Oh, man. Well, at least we got to hang out here.
I know, and I can't thank you enough. I really do appreciate the time out of your day.
Course, man. I appreciate yours. I hope to pack the place out and have a great night on Saturday. I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, if tickets aren't sold out, they will be. I'm sure they'll be close to it. So get your tickets now when you watch this or hear this or whatever you might see this. But Ben Bailey, Ritz Theater, downtown Scranton, May 25th. Sir, thank you for being funny. It's so it's like I said, I love comedy just because it's laughing is just the best.
It really is.
So,
That laughter is the best medicine is pretty true.
So
that's the job. In my mind, that's the job. That's my job, is to make you laugh. If you come to my show, my job is to make you laugh until at least momentarily you forget about the parts of your life that suck.
I'm sure you do a great job.
Well, I try. I certainly try. I'll follow people home and tickle them individually if that's what.
That sounds inappropriate these days.
You're right. Yeah, I can't do that.
You can't do that anymore. No, keep that back in the 90s.
Yeah.
Ben, thank you again. I appreciate it.
Do that, man. Take care.
We'll see you.